Hey, what's up, guys? Good Feeling Film here, and welcome to Game of Thrones Recap Season 6, Episode 2, Home. Now, Home is the title of the episode, and it really ties in good to the episode, I think. Good title for Episode 2. So, the way we're going to go through this thing is I'm going to talk about the episode itself in depth. I'll run through every scene, and then talk about the things I liked, my favorite moments, and also the things I didn't really like. And then at the end, go into predictions for next week's episodes and the episodes to come in the season. So let's get right into this. This was a jam-packed episode, more so than the first episode, which I thought was a great first episode of the season. And episode 2 starts off in a great way. We get Bran. So the thing that I said was missing in episode 1, we get right off the bat in episode 2. We see him, and he's using his warg powers with the help of the Three-Eyed Raven, played by Max von Sydow, who I think is a phenomenal actor. And they're in this like tree shrine. I don't know how to describe it, but it's where we last left off with Bran in season 4. Um, and in this vision he gets, he like goes into the past in Winterfell, and he's like seeing his dad as a little kid fighting with his uncle, and then he sees his aunt, and then he sees Hodor as a kid, and his name was Willis, and he could actually talk. And then once he comes out of the vision, he like tells the Three-Eyed Raven, like, I was home. I like, why'd you take me out of it or whatever. And then he tells Hodor, he's like, your name's Willis, and Hodor's just as Hodor. And I really miss Hodor from, he's one of those characters that doesn't really do much, but you just love him. Um, and after that, we get sent to Castle Black, where shit is going down because where we last left off on episode 1 was Alistair told Sir Davos he had until nightfall to open the door, and we also had that whole Melisandre thing going on. So, in the start of this episode in Castle Black, Alistair is waiting for Davos to come out, but he chooses to fight. But before he can get a piece of the Night's Watch guards, the wildlings and a big ass giant bust through the gate and come to their rescue. Now, I thought this was awesome and a great reintroduction to the wildlings. And so all the guards at Castle Black drop their weapons, and Alistair's like, "Come on, guys, let's fight, let's do this." But everyone's not into it, but him. And then some idiot shoots the giant in the back, and this was one of two awesome death scenes in this episode, with the giant grabbing the dude and just throwing him against the wall, and blood everywhere. It was pretty awesome, to be honest. So yeah, so then Alistair and all the other people responsible for killing Jon Snow were put in prison, and then we cut to the second badass death scene in the episode. We get transported to King's Landing, and we just see this guy, like talking to a bunch of his mates about Cersei's Walk of Shame and how he was there or whatever. And then he's obviously drunk as shit, and then he goes behind like this pillar and starts pissing, and then all of a sudden you see the mountain walk up behind him, grab his face, and just smash it against the wall with one hand. And that really showed us like the strength of this creature that they've created, which is crazy. Like, I want to see this guy get into a fight with like 10 other dudes and just completely destroy them. After that, we get to see Cersei, and she's having a bit of discussion. Well, not a discussion, but she's having some problems with her son, Tommen, who's the king. And obviously, from season 5 and going into this season, Melisandre died, and they're holding her funeral. But Tommen tells Cersei she can't go. She doesn't want her leaving the castle due to, he doesn't want her to get hurt again. And at first she like tries to combat, be like, I need to go see my daughter, but in the end she conforms with what he says and goes back to her room. But then we see Tommen and his father Jaime at the funeral, And then Tommen tells him that he shouldn't have done that. He should have left his mother come and see his sister, and then he goes to confront uh, Cersei. But before we jump to that part, Jamie gets confronted by that priest dude. I always forget his name, but the guy who locked away Cersei, basically. And Jamie's pissed at him. Jamie's ready to shed some serious blood. Um, and the priest guy goes, "Well, do it. Come on. I'm not scared of you." You know, and as soon as Jamie is really tempted to pull that sword on him, he just gets surrounded by a bunch of the members of that religion. Those crazy dudes with the sun on their forehead, and then Jamie backs down, um, and the priest walks freely. In that scene, I really wanted Jamie to kill him, but at the same time, I was fearful for Jamie because those guys do not mess around. And Jamie was telling the priest, what about my sins? I did all of this bad stuff. What are you gonna do about it? So I thought they were gonna lock Jamie away, but they didn't. And then we get Tommen confronting his mother and telling him that he was weak. He didn't have enough strength, enough to do anything. He told her that he should have burned down the church and raided them and freed his mother, but he didn't. And that's really the contrast between Tommen and Joffrey, where Joffrey was reckless. He did whatever he wanted to do to stay in power. He didn't let anyone get the better of him. And Tommen's really like, he doesn't really do much. He's kind of weak. Yeah, basically he's weak, and he's scared to take action. Um, and that's where they differ in that sense. All right. Up next, we get transported across Westeros to Marine, and we get to see Tyrion and Varys, and then we get to see Grey Worm again, which is a character I extremely love. Um, so Tyrion's chatting with Varys or whatnot, making fun of him being dickless again, which is always funny to see. And then he comes up with a brilliant idea to unchain the dragons. Uh, I'm not sure how you call that brilliant, but he says he's gonna do it. So he goes down to the chamber, and slowly but surely he unchains the dragons. And during the process, he's talking to the dragons about a story of when he was a child, and he asked his father for a dragon for his birthday, but then his dad told him that dragons don't exist anymore. Uh, but clearly, in that like right in front of him was these two ginormous fire-breathing dragons. He also said that they're very intelligent, and they showed it. And it was a really nice scene. And then it ends off with an awesome line where Tyrion tells Varys, "If I ever come up with another idea like that, just punch me in the face," which I thought was brilliant. Um, and then we get to see Arya, and the same thing happens again. That girl comes up to her and starts beating her. Arya is kind of pissed this time around and just starts flailing randomly, trying to get any type of contact on her. But then the faceless man comes to her. I forgot his name, and I apologize. There's so many characters. And then he starts testing her, but she passes the test, and she ends up going with him, and it ends off there. All right, and then we get the first, oh my god, what WTF death of the season, and that is with Roose Bolton. So Roose is informed that he has had a new son, a newborn baby, um, and Ramsay is clearly pissed because he wants to be the heir, but he is afraid that his father is going to choose a true blood over a bastard, which Ramsay is. Now, Ramsay is also, discussing with his father, telling him that they should attack Castle Black, and his father's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. Are you crazy? Castle Black is this sacred like area like that no one would mess with. Not even King's Landing would mess with Castle Black because of the code, because of history in general." Um, and Ramsay's like, "No, we have most of the North in our favor. If we attack with the force we have, we could take them over." And then Roose is informed about his son, and Ramsay, bah, I, you know, I thought Game of Thrones could never make us hate a character more than Joffrey, but they pulled it off with Ramsay because then Ramsay goes in for a hug, tells him that he's happy for him, and then shoves a knife through his dad's stomach, kills Roose Bolton, and essentially he crowns himself the new Lord Bolton. And then he goes on to kill his mother and the newborn baby by feeding them to dogs. And it was a really, just a crushing scene to because Ramsay is such a prick. It's incredible. Like he's number one on the death list for almost all Game of Thrones fans. Anyway, um, around that area, then we see Sansa talking with Brienne, and Brienne's telling her the story about when she ran into Arya back in like season 3 or 4, I believe. Um, and of course, Arya didn't want to go with her, and Brienne's telling her that she didn't really look ladylike, and Sansa's like, "Yeah, that makes sense for Arya because Arya ain't no lady; she wants to be a warrior." Um, and then they plan on heading to Castle Black. But Theon isn't really into the plan because Theon believes that if he goes to Castle Black, then Jon Snow will end up killing him for what he did, all of his sins. Not his sins, but like all the crimes he committed, basically. So he tells Sansa he's gonna go home, which is the second, excuse me, the second reference to home. And obviously, home for Theon is the Iron Islands, which is where we get to see next. There, and keep this in mind. I'm not too familiar with the Greyjoy storyline. We've had like a very small, condensed look into the Iron Islands and what they're all about, but it goes more in depth in the books, if I'm not mistaken. So we get to see Balon Greyjoy, who's like the king of the Iron Islands, and he's dead set on attacking other areas in his realm. But his daughter Yara doesn't really like it. She says that they don't have the land power to do so. Um, but then he's like, you know what? I'm gonna do it because I'm the king, and I could do whatever I want. But then he goes out on this crazy sketchy bridge in the middle of like a hurricane, and he confronts a figure, and at first he doesn't know who he is because he's wearing a cloak, but then once he takes the cloak off, we see that it's his brother, Euron Greyjoy, who in his mind was apparently dead ages ago, but he came back, um, and after a little discussion, he ends up throwing Balon off the bridge, uh, which ends up killing him. They have a funeral for him, and Yara is telling the priest, I'm pretty sure it's the priest of like the Iron Islands, that she wants to be in charge, she wants to lead. But in their in their code or whatever, they have like some sort of vote on it. So the priest ends up telling her, "You might be the first lady to rule the Iron Islands, or you might not." And then finally, the episode ends with the Night's Watch again, with Sir Davos finally asking Melisandre that question that all Game of Thrones fans want to hear: Can you resurrect Jon Snow? Can you do any sort of magic and revive one of our favorite characters ever? And it's funny because everyone out there in the rest of Westeros thinks he's alive. We had Ramsay in the episode when he was discussing with his dad whether to attack Castle Black or not. His dad tells him that Jon Snow is there, and as long as there's a Stark still living, then we get Sansa saying that she'll talk to Jon and like make him forgive Theon. So everyone thinks he's alive, but he's dead. Um, but Melisandre attempts to resurrect him. She tries about 5 times, and she's speaking in some Valyrian language, and she does some ritual. She like cuts his hair or whatever. She cleans up his blood, but then she gives up. It doesn't work. She tried, and then everyone ends up leaving the room. And before the credits hit, before the screen goes black, the camera pans onto Jon Snow, and up he goes. Jon Snow lives, which is I freaked out because even though everyone was speculating, everyone was saying before, as soon as Jon Snow died, Jon Snow's gonna come back. They can't keep him dead, and in my mind, I knew it was going to happen. But to happen this soon, episode 2, it's incredible. I thought they would do it like at least halfway, maybe towards the end of the season, bring him back or something. So it's crazy. Like, it's very mind-boggling that they did it this early. Um, but yeah, I'm pretty damn happy about it. So yeah, that was the episode in its entirety. Now let's go on to some of my favorite moments. Obviously, seeing Bran again because he was a really big miss for me in season 5. The flashback to old Winterfell was great. Also, Tyrion and the dragon scene was one of the best in the episode, and of course, the ending with Jon Snow. Some of the things I didn't really like were the way they're taking Arya's storyline forward. I feel like I'd like to see a lot more progression there in both episode 1 and episode 2. She had like one distinctive short moment, in my opinion, and I'd actually like to see more of her storyline than, let's say, the Greyjoys or whatever. But obviously, the story group for Game of Thrones knows how they're planning. The season's already shot, you know. Um, they know how things are going to work out. So hopefully by the end of the season, we get some progression with Arya's storyline. And also, fuck Ramsay because, you know. So prediction time. Um, I think the Dragons are going to come out and play this season. I think they're going to be a big part in some sort of battle. And there's also this rumor out there called the Three Riders, where by the end of by the end of Game of Thrones, the entire show is over. Um, Khaleesi's gonna take over Westeros, but she's gonna have the help of Jon Snow and Tyrion, and three dragons, three characters. You know, they're saying that that's how it's gonna work out in the end. That'd be pretty damn awesome, in my opinion. So I'd like to see that. Also, another question I have is when are we going to see White Walkers? Because I'm not too sure at this point how they're going to reintroduce the White Walkers from season 5. I'm sorry. So this is a question I have for you guys. Let me know in the comments. At one point in this season, are we going to see White Walkers? You know, halfway, or are we going to see them all the way at the season finale? I have no idea personally. Also, Ramsay is gonna head to Castle Black. You know, Ramsay is headstrong and he doesn't mess around. So he's gonna take a fight to Castle Black, um, and I think that's gonna end up in a pretty significant battle. And obviously, the other big question is what's gonna happen with Jon Snow. Uh, Next episode, I'm even more excited for because he's alive. So is he just gonna like walk out the door and be like, "Hey guys, I'm back," or like what's gonna happen? Like I have no idea where his storyline is gonna go. Um, well, obviously he's gonna try to get revenge on Alistair. I hope because that guy deserves it, and that little kid, cause fuck that kid. But yeah, so far so good. Two episodes down, two thumbs up for me. Um, this season is said to be the best, and it's definitely heading in that direction. So that will do it for this episode, this recap of Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 2, Home. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and like the video, and I'll catch you guys next Sunday for Episode 3.